Welcome back. Let's move into the construction of the psyche according to Freud. For most of the other theories you will encounter in your educations, this will be one of the few areas in which there is some consensus. Freud saw the psyche in the form of an iceberg, and as you know, the bulk of the mass of any iceberg is beneath the surface, so the majority of your thinking, knowledge, and activities are taking place in the unconscious. The conscious mind is aware of itself in reality, reacts to external forces, understands place and time. The unconscious is where all of your drives, memories, desires are located, and they situate themselves here. Freud had a third region called the preconscious, but he jettisoned that fairly quickly. With our human behavior, you can see that two forces are coming into conflict moment by moment. One is called the pleasure principle, located in a part of the psyche known as the id. The pleasure principle desires an immediate gratification of its wishes. It does not understand time, place, opportunity, propriety. It is just pure desire. For instance, instead of delivering this lecture, I would prefer to go get a donut. The problem is, I don't have any at home, so I would have to get in my car, drive to the shop, hope they have my favorite, and also hope that I have enough money to pay for it. My drive for this donut does not understand my professional obligations, or quarantine, or money. It just wants the donut. And because I cannot have my donut, I start to get anxious. One way that my mind alleviates this anxiety is through the reality principle. It understands logic and explains to my psyche that I cannot have the donut now, but I can have one after work. My desire is delayed, the anxiety lessens because I understand that the drive will be fulfilled. All right, so let's move on into the next part of the psyche. This is called the id, or Latin for it. This is the oldest part of your mind. It contains all of the drives for food, shelter, sex that you inherited from your ancestors. Generally, when you dream, this part of the mind is in control, and all of your fantastical, impossible, immoral, inappropriate desires run free. It is governed entirely by the pleasure principle, so it wants desires fulfilled immediately. To illustrate this point, we have a picture of Cat in the Hat. For those of you familiar with the story, the cat enters the home and the two children are stuck inside on a rainy day, and their mother is not home. The cat proceeds to encourage the children to do things that are wrong and inappropriate. It makes a mess in the house. An easy way to analyze the story is to look at the house as the psyche of the child narrator. And once the mother leaves, the child begins to individuate his psyche and put things in order. And he no longer has the external authority of the parent to function as a moral center. Thus, the id runs rampant, and it is up to the child to bring it under control. The next part of the psyche is the ego, the part of you that is listening intently to this lecture right now. It understands rationality, reason, time, space, and much of your anxiety comes from this area because it's bombarded with the desires of the id. One of the things that the ego needs above all else is stasis, equilibrium. It does not want anything interrupting or threatening its view of itself. It is fragile. Because it understands reality, it can keep the id under control. But because it's so easily damaged, it has these defense mechanisms that will step in and defend it if anything threatens its view of itself. For instance, if I get a bad grade, and I think of myself as a great student, this unwanted reality may change that feeling. So a defense mechanism will step in and provide a different reason for the bad grade, like the test was unfair and the professor is terrible, so the bad grade was his fault, and I'm still smart. Rather than deal with an unwanted reality and resolve it, I'm really finding an excuse to keep my view of self intact. The problem with defense mechanisms is that they are lies. The healthy thing would be to process the information and view the self in a way that will not be damaged. We have a picture here of Bruce Wayne. Batman. We do know that Batman suffered an incredible trauma when his parents were murdered, and he created an alter ego who is powerful, brutal, and punishes bad people for their misdeeds. Batman, unlike Bruce Wayne, cannot be hurt by criminals. He has no family that can be murdered. He has combat skills that make him superior to any evildoer. So by creating Batman, Bruce Wayne can insulate himself from this trauma of feeling vulnerable. So, is there an actual Batman, or is it in Wayne's mind? Lastly, for this next part, I want you all to imagine that you're 15 years old again. You come home to find that your parents have left the house permanently and it's now yours. Incredible. Call the homies. But I have bad news. They have not moved to another house, but inside your heads, and that is where they are living. This is known as the superego, or your conscience, or your moral center. Before its development, you looked at your parents to control your urges. And once you go through a specific set of stages, you'll develop one of these superegos. It has two parts. One is your sense of morality. The other part is your ego ideal. This is the perfect version of yourself that you measure your actual self against. It is an ideal, so it'll be impossible ever to measure up to. And it is always unattainable. If you do not meet these expectations, you feel pride. If you do meet these expectations, you feel pride. And that is your superego communicating to you. If you fall short of them, you feel shame. It is judgmental, shaming, and guilting. It helps you keep that ego intact. So if you have a desire that is unacceptable, it helps you sublimate them into something that meets the expectations. Here we again have a picture from the cat, and this time it's the fish. If you recall, the fish was the only one to speak up while the cat wrecked the home. Fish is a powerful symbol in Western civilization. Many people use the fish as a symbol of Christ, also a model that Christians try to emulate. So, is it any wonder that the ego is so fragile? For instance, you have an id screaming to you about donuts constantly, and then you have a superego that's telling you to get a 4.5 GPA. So next time, we're going to take a deep dive into the defense mechanisms we use to keep the ego secure. Have a good day, guys. Take care.